So structures, really, really useful, and I wish I'd known this sooner, but it's perhaps not the most exciting thing. So we looked at this before. A data frame is a rectangular collection of variables in the columns and observations in rows. You also come across Tibble, which is a variation of table. It just prints nice data frames or nice looking data frames to the console. So vectors are the basic data structure in R. So they're the building blocks of data frames. You can create them with this function here, C, which stands for combine. So if you wanted to create a vector that looked like 7, 8, 9, essentially a list of numbers, type C, and in brackets, the list of numbers. This is an integer vector at the top. A double, which allows decimal points. Character vector is text vector. Text must be surrounded by inverted commas or quotations, otherwise R will interpret the text as an object. R will look for the object, and obviously you probably don't have an object equivalent to the text, and so your code will probably return an error. We've also got logical vectors which return true, false, true, and that's what we did when do you remember we did 1 = 1 and it returned a true in that case. So we can think of data frames as sort of vertical vectors, an arrangement of vertical vectors. So you've got vector 1 going down like this and vector 2, 3 going down like this. But data frames have additional structure that holds the vectors together, which is behind the scenes, really. This was the Gapminder data frame printed to the console. Here you can see the life expectancy. It gives the type of vector that life expectancy is within the data frame. So it's a double, which means it allows for decimal places, and it's a vertical vector. But you might want to. There are many useful tools in R which allow you which work with vectors. Vectors tended to be very useful in the old style R. Tidyverse tends to work more with data frames. So the pipe works with really data frames. You don't use vectors, you use data frames. If you wanted to revert from a data frame to a vector to work with other tools, you might want to just isolate a single column. And we came across select. I didn't mention it in the review, but it just allows you to extract a single, well, if you specify a single column, you can extract a single column of the data frame. But this command leaves the existing structure, it leaves the data frame structure in place, and so you need commands such as pull, which is tidyverse style, or this dollar, which those of you who have used R before in the past are probably very familiar with. This just means it pulls out the vector, say column 1, from the data frame. I've just named it DF. Again, with the tidyverse, you can say data frame, then pull this column 1. And so you get this vector without the grey surround. COR is a base R function which returns the correlation between, which can, among several things, return the correlation between two vectors. Now your turn to have a go at just trying to get a bit more familiar with what's going on. You'll be able to load the Gapminder set again using library. We just want data for 2007, so you're probably going to need to use filter. And then you're going to need to extract a vector to find, or two vectors to find the correlation between GDP. GDP, again, we found that we couldn't get it without doing some mutating. So find the correlation between GDP and population. So that reviews a number of functions. And there's additional tasks. If you complete that, we can try visualizing that correlation or lack of it. So plot, so use ggplot to plot population against GDP, and then try adding a John Smooth